Hello and welcome to another Tuesday talk with Ruby Reese. Shortly, I will be joined by Liz from Positive Dog Training in Dublin to talk about the huge topic of the transforming Irish dog community. And I think Liz is joining. So while we're waiting for Liz to join as well, as always with this format, we will be keeping it conversational and chatty. So we will be making generalizations. Hello, Liz. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
You're more than welcome. Delighted to be here.
Brilliant. Would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself?
I'm Liz. I am the owner of Positive Dog Training, and we're based in Dublin. We're a training centre. We do doggy daycare, we do dog training, group classes, and one-to-one sessions. And we also have dog grooming. We run seminars and events for dog professionals. So we would have different courses, workshops, seminars on that. People who are involved in the industry can come along and network and attend the different courses,
Brilliant. I'm sure we'll jump into a lot of those different themes as well while we're talking about the massive topic of the transform Irish dog community. Just as a brief introduction for myself, in case anyone doesn't know me, I'm Killian from Ruby Reese. We set up our company just over a year ago. Because of our dog Ruby, we wanted to come out with a brand of treats, home grooming products, and nutritional supplements that are top quality. And we've been, delighted to join and be part of this community. I was just, as you joined, I was just finishing my disclaimer. So we will be making some generalizations during this talk. It might not always be specific to you, your dog, or your situation. So if you do have any concerns, it is definitely worthwhile going and speaking with a certified professional in the area you're worried about. So to jump into the transforming Irish dog community, what have you seen what large scale changes have been going on in the community over the last decade?
God, in the last decade. So we're open about 12 years now.
Yeah.
12 years this year. And there is a lot more opportunity for people who wish to work within the industry. And there's a lot more avenues for education. And whether you want to be a dog trainer, a dog groomer, whether you want to be a behaviorist, there's so many more doors open to you now. Like when I feel like the old Mother Hubbard in the cupboard, like when we started out, there wasn't, you really had to travel to the UK or abroad to do any courses. There was very little here in Ireland being offered, but now we've got so many amazing companies out there that are offering mentorships. They're bringing in different courses from different countries, bringing in speakers. So it really is an explosion. And I think we can also see there's a massive change with the pet ownership community. People want to know more. They want to be involved in their dog's welfare, lifestyle. You only have to look at the likes of Instagram and see how many dog pages there are, or people who are into dogs. They're setting up pages specifically to highlight their dog's exploits and what they're up to. And, the dogfluencers, the way attended different events together. It's great crack.
Definitely, yeah. So I suppose there's more homegrown, and we want to get more involved in everyone. Professionals, dog owners, families. Everyone kind of wants to get more involved in the Irish community. Is that what you feel?
I know, and yeah, like a company like yourselves, and then you can see there's so many good success stories and companies building to success. Like people in Ireland seeing a need for a product, going out there, designing, developing it, and getting it out onto the shelves. And I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's there is a sense of community. I think when you're working in the industry, there's great events out there. We don't need to go through all of them, but
No.
you and I have both been at Pups in the Park, for example, just a couple of months ago, and there is a sense of community there. It's brilliant to see these homegrown companies and service providers all kind of working together for the Irish community. And you mentioned education as well. Like, do you think it makes the community a lot better that dog owners are a lot more clued in and slightly more educated maybe than they would have been in the past?
I think so. I think that, the days of, as my own mother, she's 87, she say, in her day, a dog was a dog was a dog. It wasn't, you weren't looking at kind of the specific needs for different breeds. You weren't looking at diet as much. You weren't looking like they got the scraps from the table. And in fairness, a lot of the dogs were very healthy then and they were happy. But like, I mean, now we're seeing like it's a different era in life, you know, that way that we know that, say, if you've got a border collie, you want to give them an outlet for their intelligence. If you've got any breed of dog, they all have their own specific thing that they enjoy doing. Like if you've got a hound, like, I mean, one of my customers the other day was telling me she'd gone to a fabulous trainer down in Kildare called Jenny Trainer. And she's doing scent work down there with her Vizsla puppy. Like, this is a girl that goes running with her dog, or would go running, but the dog is too young. So she wanted to give her an outlet, but she sourced that off on her own to find something to give her dog. And I just think that is massive. Like that kind of, you know, making an informed decision on what's good for your dog's health, but also what you can do to give them an outlet for their energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the past as well, we mightn't even notice some of the problems our dogs had. You know, one of the ones that keeps coming up at dog events, people kind of, when you mention it to people, that, you know, the amount of white poo that was hanging around the place, hard calcified poop hanging around the streets in the 90s, you just don't see that anymore. You know? And it's,
no. And thank God people are starting to pick up a good bit more now than maybe they did in the 90s. So we, you know, I was actually out for a walk with my own dogs this morning, and I was marveling. Like, I walked through this park. It's a beautiful park up here in Dublin, called Porterstown. I didn't see one poo.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I couldn't believe it. You know that way.
And I think that's one of the important things about building communities. We actually care about each other, you know. And I think the more people that get involved and start working in the dog community and working with each other, I think we realise that we should give each other a helping hand and protect.
100%. Like, I mean, there's more than enough dogs in Ireland for, you know, that way, for every dog trainer, for every dog groomer, for every dog product, you know, that way. There's no need. Like, I think we should all be giving each other a leg up and, you know, cheering on people who are really trying their best to get information out there, maybe to the general public, sell a product to the general public. There's no need to be, you know, in any way precious about it. Like, let's just give everybody a good, you know, a fair chance and give them a good clap and, you know, get on with it.
Oh, definitely. And like, I suppose social media has a huge role to play. You mentioned it already, but you know, I suppose that helps with the education piece as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. But funny enough, I was only talking about this to another girl yesterday. Just saying, with the advent of social media, you would think that many more members of the public would be hearing, you know, like, say, from the welfare agencies and for all the rest of it. But I think probably with the algorithm or whatever it is that it shows you what you're interested in. So of course I would see a lot of stuff from animal welfare groups, from dog producers, from all the rest of it. But unless maybe they pay to show it to other people, I don't know whether all of the messages get out there. So I think word of mouth is phenomenal. Like, I'm lucky in the industry, the business I have, I get to see a lot of people on a daily basis. So if I find a product that I love, or if I know of a welfare agency that need maybe a handout or need to collect, say, towels or bedding or whatever, I can say it to them people and, you know, kind of get the information out there. But I'm not really sure. I'm not great on the social media. I think I've told you this before. I'm not really sure what way this all works. And as I say, sometimes I feel like with a lot of the welfare groups and like companies like ourselves and maybe yourselves, we're the people that follow us and the people that, you know, see our content are already people that are in the industry. But I'd love to, I have to learn, I have to do a course or something and figure out how to reach other people.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with you that you do kind of end up getting stuck down a rabbit hole. I know that I end up, even though I try to keep very on top of what's going on and across the industry, I think I'm always seeing the same profiles. Like you say, the algorithm realizes, oh, you've liked that once, so you like it again.
Yeah.
So I suppose there is still a lot of merit for the offline community as well.
I
think that's
so. I love anything where there's network and where you're getting to speak to people face to face. I absolutely love it. And you're getting to see, like, I mean, like you mentioned pups in the park earlier. I met so many new people I haven't met before at that. Not just customers, but other suppliers, vendors. And, you know, you get to put a face to name. You get to actually put your hand on the product, maybe try it out. You know, and you kind of know straight away, well, this is going to work for my client base or it's not. But you still can kind of say, well, I don't have the customers for this. But if somebody I know asks me, I can say, go there. Yeah. Like, they have it. It's brilliant, you know?
Definitely. And there's so many things offline now as well. You know, it's not just the big events and the dog shows that we would have known, you know, say a decade ago. But there's also dog friendly businesses like the restaurants and cafes and everything.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you think we have different expectations maybe of our dogs nowadays if we're bringing them along to these places as well.
I do. And actually, funny enough, there's a trainer, I don't know if you know her, Siobhan Owen, she's gas character, and she does a little comedy page. But like, she was just saying there on one of her pages, I'm not sure if it was Dublin Pet School or her own page, but like, client's expectation of the dog. Like, we are now, like, before you were going out for a meal, you were leaving your dog at home because very few restaurants were going to let you bring in your dog. But now we want to bring our dog with us. Maybe we're going to sit in the beer garden, have a pint or whatever. But you need to kind of put in the effort with your dog to make sure your dog is comfortable in that environment. Make sure, like, have you had a walk first? Does your dog know how to settle, or is he going to go in and get all overexcited? Is your dog one of these people magnets that is just like, if you've got a really cute dog, every person is going to want to come over and like, oh, you're gorgeous and all the rest of it. Then how are they going to react to it? Are they comfortable? So the more training you do with your dog when they're younger, the more socialization, the more bringing them to different places and then letting them be used to it, the better. Always going to be, everything is always going to work hand in hand. Because if you've got a badly behaved dog and you're bringing them to a restaurant or a pub or a coffee shop, unfortunately, if they're badly behaved, the chances are, that'll reflect on the whole dog community, not just your dog. And eventually something might happen and the business owner will have to say, look, sorry, we can't let dogs come in anymore. So I think the emphasis should be on the owners. If this is what you want to do, make sure you put in the groundwork with your dog first.
Definitely. I think that's crucial, and I suppose you have to be fair to the dog as well. You have to set up the expectations of what you want, and then gradually get there. Do you see a lot of that requested now in training, as opposed to a couple of years ago, that people are saying, "Oh, I want to be able to go into a cafe and then sit down and put up."
One of the funny ones. There was somebody I know. She ended up. I only spoke to her on the phone, but she was on to a new dog. Her dog had passed away last year. And her old dog was 14, and she used to stop and go for a cup of coffee with the dog on the way home from the walk every day. But she'd now had a 6-month-old juvenile dog, and she, couldn't understand she'd never entered her head that this dog was a totally different personality, even though it was within the same breed. But also, had never been trained to do this. It was never, she had done it for a routine for so many years, but she hadn't done it this dog hadn't done it as a routine. So even though it was part of her daily life, she needed to kind of, and like once you kind of explained it to her, she's like, never thought of it that way, So yeah, we would have a lot of people. I think people want to go places with their dogs. They want to bring their dogs, and obviously the better behaved the dog are, the better for everybody all around.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, do you see as well that dogs have taken on a different role in the family, maybe as well? That we are taking them out for dinner and things.
Absolutely, and I do think. I think it maybe has always been this way, but now I think, especially in the area where we are, and we've a lot of young families around us, and they want the dogs to be part of the family at all times. So, we're lucky. We're seeing people now to say, we have a young family and they're just getting ready for their first baby. They will include getting the dog ready. They'll come down for training classes. They'll ask for advice, rather than wait until the baby arrives and they're exhausted, tired, having lived on 2 hours sleep for a couple of nights, and the dog is acting up. And, we do get people contacting us in advance of it now. Similarly, we're getting people, if they're moving from an apartment to a house, contacting us. People's lifestyles are really changing and changing quite quickly. I find, where before you'd know somebody for a couple of years and they might have been renting first, and then they've got their first dog, and then they're buying their house. Everything is changing. So, but now, where before that might take a 5-year span, it's happening in 2. It's everything is just so much quicker. So yourself how stressful change can be for us as humans, and we know exactly what's going on. So you can imagine how unsettling it can be for a dog. But it is wonderful that so many people are getting in contact in advance of these things happening, rather than wait until it all goes off.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's a good point as well to bring up doggy daycare, because we've had the full working in the office, then we had COVID where everyone said don't get dogs, or lots of people did. And now maybe gradually moving back to the office or whatever it is. Did we have doggy daycare 10 years ago? And is this a new concept? We can see I can see the value in it for sure.
Yeah.
The need for it. But what did people do with dogs before? And
we did have 10 years ago. So we opened 12 years ago, and daycare is a massive part of our business. But prior to us, there was another daycare in Dublin, run by Tara and Lisa, called Dog Training Ireland. So they would have been one of the first. I'd ever heard of. And one of the girls that worked from Laura, she actually at the time, before they opened their door, she used to walk my dogs. So when she got a job there, my dogs automatically went there. And it was a fabulous facility. And they would have been one of the first people who ever really did anything like that in Ireland that we knew of. And then myself and Susie came along. Susie, who you had on a couple of weeks ago, we came along a couple of years later, and then we decided to open one in Sandyford. But it is, yeah, it's a funny industry. Like, I mean, we were very lucky. I think it was the area we were in. I think it was, you know, we were just at the right time when we opened. It's a very hard job. And like, it's absolutely incredible. And, you know, like, I mean, I couldn't do it without the guys. Sorry, my mommy's just trying to ring me at the same time. I just knock her off there. Yeah, so like you couldn't do it without the right team. You really do need the right facility. It's really, I think for anybody that's thinking of doing it or anybody who's looking to get their dog into a doggy daycare, do your homework. Make sure their ethos, how they're going to treat the dog is in line with how you would treat your dog, you know, and make sure the staff ratios are good. Like in Dublin at the moment, and I know there's more going to be opening up all the time, a lot of them are capacity. Like we haven't been able to take on new clients in a long time. And that was prior to COVID actually happening. So when COVID happened and we were closed for a number of months and all the rest of it, the waiting list just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have quite a few daycares in our area, you know, so it's a business I think that's going to keep growing. But what I hope is that it grows with welfare in mind and ethics in mind, that it's not going to be just warehousing dogs.
Absolutely. And I suppose like you hear it across the industry, has there been an absolute massive boom in the amount of pet dogs that we have in Ireland? Because, you know, it's not just daycare, but you hear groomers booked out, you know, like we were saying, you tend to see the type of social media content that you like. So groomers tend to come into also into one of my categories. And a lot of them are putting up appointments saying, you know, last appointment's going for November.
Yeah, well, tell you, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. So number one, I think when COVID happened, a lot of businesses closed down. So a lot of existing businesses went. I think then there was a lot of really good, say, I'm going to take groomers, for example. There's a lot of really good groomers out there, and they were kind of getting to an age where they were thinking of retiring. So they either decide to get rid of their premises or slow down or for whatever reason. And there's not as many people, I feel, going into the industry. But I think with the way things are now, like when you do your leaving cert, you go to college or whatever, you know, where before people would come in and do a summer job, they'd find they'd really love doing that. And, you know, so I just think lifestyles have changed, you know, that way. And I think that we're seeing a lot of groomers now coming in and a lot of people recruiting groomers from other parts of Europe, because we just don't have the qualified groomers here. Like there's some brilliant courses out there for people who do want to be groomers. But again, I think people have to be realistic on it. And I did it for a number of years. So I can say this and not feel bad. It's a hard job. It's a physical job. Like, I mean, we have three beautiful girls, Brona, Carla and Emma, that work with us, and they're incredible, you know that way. But it's a tough job. Like, I mean, you're trying to manage owner expectations and how they're looking at maybe Instagram and they see this cutie, gorgeous little Maltipoo and they want their dog to look like that, but they forget their dog is a Jack Russell. It doesn't have hair, you know, or, you know, you can't, like, I mean, if a dog is matted to the skin, like, I mean, your welfare has to come straight away into it. You can't be trying to brush out a dog that's like that. Like, that's not a groomer's job. And I think our three girls are amazing. They're really good at managing clients' expectation. But I can imagine somebody new coming into the market feeling very downhearted, because when you're training to be a dog groomer, you might be working on model dogs, or you might be working with, and the dogs are already in a routine, but new dogs coming in, like, it is hard. Like, I mean, products like your own conditioner and all that, like, I'm always telling people to get on and get it. Like, just, you know, it's so hard. Like, I mean, some coats, especially now with the crossbreeds, are hard to maintain.
Absolutely. And I mean, I take my hat off to anyone that gets into the job of grooming, because I wash Ruby, a short-haired French bulldog that actually likes being in the shower. Yeah. She genuinely likes being clean. And that's even a task in itself. I break out into a sweat, even though it's an easy, short job for a small, short-haired dog. So I cannot imagine what it's like.
Also, like, I mean, I think for a lot of people who are trying to do it at home, like, washing the dog is hard enough, but then cleaning the bathroom afterwards. Oh,
Absolutely.
like, I mean, it is just like, that's the part. And if they decide to take off down the stairs and they're wiping themselves off every wall and every soft furnishing along the way. But it is like, I mean, as I say, the dog grooming world, I think they get a bad press a lot of the time from, on different Facebook pages or Instagram things. Oh, my dog got shaved at the groomers. Well, there was a reason for that. There's not one groomer I know of, and I know a lot of them, that ever wants to send the dog out shaved. They all love sending them out nice and fluffy and gorgeous.
Absolutely. And that's something I hear time and time again from, I think, every single groomer. When we're talking about success stories, we're talking
Yeah.
about, I saved the tail, I saved their, these are things that they want to do. I
Yeah.
saved a bit of length there, and they really
Yeah.
try.
It's
It's difficult.
lousy. Like, I mean, I think they get and then I think people forget as well. Like, then when you're dealing, like, one of the ones we hear a lot, and not from our regular clients, but from new people. Oh, sure, I don't pay that much to get my own hair done. Well, look, for number one, say for a business like mine, 23% straight away is VAT.
Yeah.
So if I'm charging you, say, €100 to do your dog, like, so it's really 87. Then take the groomer's wage out of it. Then take the burgeoning cost of electricity and gas and equipment and, like consumables like the shampoos, the conditioners, the sprays, the little bandana at the end. You know what I mean? All of this, there's very little left at the end of it. So I wish people were a little bit more grateful not grateful, that's not the right word, appreciative of how hard. Now, I don't do it anymore, so I'm not giving myself a clap on the back. But like, I think people need to be a little bit more appreciative of their groomers,
Absolutely. And even the fact that they say they don't spend that on their own hair, that's fine, but you don't have the same amount of hair as molding a sheepdog.
Well, I hope you don't. Who knows what goes on under the jumpers?
Absolutely. And I suppose, talking about breeds, have you noticed that there'll always be trends in breeds that people have, but have you noticed there being any big shifts over the last years towards certain breeds?
Absolutely, yeah. So we were seeing for the whole way through COVID, it was cockapoo, 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 Cavachon, that way, like that. And now, like, what we're seeing is Daxies. Dachshunds seem to be the new. We're seeing them, like, we can kind of look when we get bookings in for the class, and we, send out the welcome email and what kind of pup do you have, and like, I mean, it's very rare that we have a class now without a Dachshund in it, and the cockapoo seems to have that breed seems to be kind of, not saying that we're still seeing it, but we're just not seeing the volume of them. Yeah. Still seeing golden retrievers were always very popular in the area we're in. So, like, I mean, there's some days in daycare, like, I mean, and it's like, all the blondies together, that way. So, like, I mean, I think it's on a Thursday, I think we've something like 13 golden retrievers in.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
So they're great. So, like, I mean, but we're starting to see a lot of Dachshunds, that way. And then we're starting to see, which is a nice thing to see, we're starting to see a rise again in the amount of people adopting dogs, which is great to see, because I think everybody that's in any way involved with dogs know that the rescues are a complete crisis level at the minute. Yes. And so we're starting to see people adopting dogs again, where I think during COVID, because most of the rescues were closed or people were home and adopting dogs, they didn't have the volume of dogs that they wouldn't on a regular. I don't know what's a normal year anymore. It's so hard to know what a normal time was. But so now we're just seeing, like, a huge amount of dogs, like, going into rescue groups. Like, just, I don't think I've ever seen it this way, as many.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I know it's a passion topic.
Oh, God, yeah.
Anyway. But it's crazy, because there's in the first sense, it's brilliant that there's so many. It's almost trendy to have adopted a dog, which is so valid and so good. I totally stand behind it. But it's insane how full all of the rescues are. I think every single one of them has come out and said they're really struggling.
It is, yeah. And I would like, because of the business I have, like, we would get contacted for, like, donations for prizes, and sure, it's yourself, it's the same. So we kind of, like, said, like, we would try and do our best to help. We picked 2 rescues. So we picked My Lovely Horse, who have now My Lovely Horse, My Lovely Pig, and My Lovely Dog Rescue. And then we have Wicklow Animal Welfare, the amazing Fiona Gamble. And they're 2 rescues. We still help others when we can, but they're our 2 main rescues. And I don't think I have ever seen anything like the volume of dogs that are being abandoned, handed into rescues. A lot of them, like, I mean, like, I've seen Fiona, especially down in Wicklow Animal Welfare, and I'm a very backseat person. I'm not down there every day picking up the poos. Like, I just send them a few bob. But, like, the amount of mammies and puppies and pregnant dogs and stuff going in, which is just heartbreaking, like, that these dogs are in this situation and that the dogs are being born into like that kind of stress, well, not even stressful, but a kennel environment, and luckily, like, they're getting to the rescues that are going to, give them the best care possible with their facilities that they have, but you just wish that sometimes that, we could get a little bit better at that, dealing with this situation.
I think so. I think it's an aspiration for our whole community
Yeah.
to deal with it a little bit better. And I think, like you mentioned, it could be to do with the very, very fast pace of change within our lives. The situations change, work requirements change quite a lot. So I think that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well. I think that some companies will have to take into account as well that you've got people who may have been working at home now for 3 years, more or less. And, just ordering them back to the office. Like, I mean, we had one of our clients, like, literally got a week's notice that he had to be back in the office. Now, I'm sure he probably knew it was in the pipeline. It was coming through. That would be what the employer would say. But then all of a sudden he's stuck with, like, he's now got a dog. What does he do? That way. So, like, I mean, when they call the likes of ourselves, or I'm sure any other trainer, like, if we can't help them, or we can't help them with daycare, which we haven't been able to for a good few years, which is a great thing for us, but not a great thing for people who are looking for the service. We will recommend other businesses, or we will recommend dog walkers. We'll ask where they live in their area. Like, I mean, we would have a good network of people that we can pass on their name and details to,
Yeah.
But it is, I can see people get very stressed about it. And then I think we were in a very fast society, like, as we've said, but, like, I mean, I think people want things now. They don't want to wait, so they get a dog, they get it quickly. They might apply to a rescue, or the rescue doesn't get back to them for 2 days, but by then they've gone on to a classified site and bought a puppy and met them in, a little car park or whatever, and they're the people I think all of us want to reach. Anyone who's involved in any way in dog training, education, welfare, anything, they're the people we want to be looking at our social medias and saying, look, do it this way. Don't do it that way. If you want to get a certain breed, go this route. If you want, if you don't mind what kind of dog you get and you're happy to help any dog, go this way,
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's difficult because we're speaking to my following and your following here, who already
we're preaching to the choir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's people that already know and people that do their research already. So it's quite difficult. And do you see any other big challenges then that the community needs to tackle? Or is it, the adoption was?
I think for small business owners like ourselves, I think the ever rising costs are going to be, are an issue for us. That way it's very hard to kind of project or forecast where you're going to do or where you're going to put resources, because things just seem to be changing every month. You know what I mean? Products that you may have stocked for years or products that you may have used, the price is just shooting up, and it doesn't seem to be abating. It has to stop at some stage, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So I think I would like, again, like we're preaching to the choir here, like really encourage people to support small businesses as much as you can. And if it's a product or a service you don't use yourself, that's fine, but maybe just recommend it to somebody else if you do know somebody that may use it. As I say, I think if within the actual industry ourselves, if we keep supporting each other and pushing, like, I mean, as I say, we would do dog training, we don't do behavioural work. So we would refer a lot of our cases on for behavioural work, or if we don't have the space to fit someone in, they need help now, we'd refer to another trainer, or same with grooming. We would say, look, we can't fit you in for X amount of time, but if you try, this person may have a space. And I think if the industry continues to support each other, that would be a massive thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think even if, I suppose, our following already knows, but I suppose if all of you watching in are kind of sharing little bits from anyone in the community, like you say, there's so many people out there, behaviorists and other product pages and everything that are really delivering brilliant value. Just sharing that out there, and maybe even bring your friends along to the events as well.
Yeah. And like, I mean, how great is it, like, when we go to these events now or anything like that, or even like just talking, like, I mean, how many, like, I can name 3 or 4 like really good Irish brands that have come up in the last couple of years. And it's just like, I think that is brilliant, because I can't remember going back 10 years ago. I can't remember that many innovators in the dog world within Ireland.
There's so much happening at the moment. I think it's a very, very exciting time in the Irish dog world, for sure. There's a lot going on, and like you say, I suppose the the rate of change is very fast, but that can be a good thing when you're talking about something like
absolutely, yeah. No, I love seeing it. I love when somebody contacts me and says they have a product or they're thinking of doing this, and what do I do? I do like, yay, because it's just that I just think we're, for a small country, we're really great at coming up with fantastic products. Like, I mean, Canine Connectables, like the guys, their stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
What they started from and what they've built it up to. And like, hopefully it's going to continue to grow and grow, and new products come online. The likes of yourself with your treats and your shampoos and your conditioners. Yeah. Eamon, I'm going to plug Eamon with the Benwood Harness. And he works with us and he's absolutely amazing. And like, that's doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And hopefully that continues to grow for him. And then we've got new people coming online up in the training and behaviour world, the likes of Catherine from Snout and About, and she's going to start doing seminars and events. And how lovely is that we're going to have somebody from Ireland and in our Irish community now holding events and like putting their neck out there.
Definitely.
To do these sort of things. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. I think it gives them, with all the products and different services and more specialized services, I think it's really giving people options and choices. And I think that's all everyone wants for our community.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy for an Irish company, but I think an awful lot of us like to.
Yeah.
And that's
I do. Really, I'm a bit of a sucker for that now, I have to say. Like, I mean, even if I'm looking for a gift for somebody, I would generally like go on and, try and source something. And it's going to be something different. It's going to be, yourself, if you get an order and you're like, yay.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I want somebody else to feel that if I'm buying something, I want them to be sitting at home going, like, I mean, we got to say it, brilliant. Where I think some of the big, not all of them, but I think some of the big kind of, global kind of companies, there's not somebody sitting there at the end of the hill going, yay. It's somebody going, oh God, I have to pack this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where we're like,
exactly.
Maybe
it does make a huge difference. And I suppose, like you say, you can't get everything from Ireland quite yet, but there's innovation in the pipeline. So hopefully we'll be getting bigger and better all the time as a country community. So do you have any other final thoughts on the Irish community and where you'd like to see us growing to? I think
I have to say, I'd love to see, like, all across the board, just keep supporting each other. Like, I mean, we bring in speakers from different countries and stuff like that, and I love them events because now we've one coming up in October. We've got Jim Crosby coming over from the States, and he is a dog aggression specialist. It's the forensics of dog aggression. So again, this is one of these events, like we kind of try to bring one big name speaker in every year that specializes in one specific thing. And he's going to be really interesting. But aside from the opportunity to learn from like a world expert in the fields of dog aggression, it's great to see it. We all get to sit around, have a yap, like we get the caterers in and, we sit there stuffing our faces, eating cake, eating chocolate and, getting to catch up on how everybody's doing. And then you get to meet people within the industry that maybe you haven't heard of. So all of a sudden you meet this girl, like, and she's a trainer behaviourist in Limerick or a trainer behaviourist in Tipperary that you've never heard of. And you find out she's really good and she's got these qualifications. So all of a sudden then you've got another person that when somebody rings you, because we might have a slightly higher profile on Google or Facebook or something, we will get calls from around the country. So it's really nice to be able to say, there's a girl and there's a dog lady in Waterford, she can help you, or, contact Jill, or, contact Catherine in Cork, or contact Catherine and Killian in Kildare, or whoever it might be. That's the part I really love, that we can all get together, talk, catch up and see how everybody's doing, and then because it can be a lonely industry as well. Not so much for me, but say for people who are standalone dog trainers or standalone dog groomers or standalone dog behaviourists, they're basically only working with their clients, and there's very few that can go home and have another half or whatever that is actually has the same passion for animals. So you can kind of feel it's nice to have that community that you can kind of bounce off each other and pop a message or a voice note or have a rant to, if something is going on.
Definitely. And there's so much value even to be had from those conversations as well,
oh God, yeah.
You might just say, God, I never heard of that explained in that way. I would, and you just start looking at a topic completely differently. So it's
100%, yeah. Like I love it, I have to say. That's like, I mean, maybe just I'm a bit of a gossip and I love standing yapping, but I love the social aspect of it. And again, speaking with people that have kind of the same kind of how would you say, the same kind of ethics as you, the same kind of drive as you, have the same kind of interest in improving the welfare of the dogs and the families that own the dogs' lives. And like, I think that has to be kind of goes back to the beginning of everything. None of us got into this industry in any way, shape or form to not help everybody that we can, the dogs and the families.
I think so as well. I totally agree with you. Liz, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all
No
of your
problem at all.
experience in the Irish dog industry.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Lovely.
For those of you tuning in, you can follow Liz at it's at PGT Dublin, and if you're not following us, we're at Ruby Reese Official. Thank you once again for joining, and I wish you a great evening.
You too. See you at the next event.
Thank you.